right, Ms. Panger, are we ready to go?
Judge, I believe that we have an agreement as to TMC.
All right, great. All right, if you want to go ahead and announce the agreement, that would be very helpful.
Yes, ma'am. The parties are in agreement that the department will take temporary managing conservatorship of the children or maintain that. The children will be placed back in the home with mother. However, the department, the parties have agreed, and the department is asking for an order, a court order, that Andrew Adcock not be allowed in the home. And also a court order directing that Miss Mason not allow Mr. Adcock into the home. That all of his visitation will be supervised, and that any of his contact only happen during those authorized supervised visitation time. And then one of the jobs I believe that Miss Mason has added, in addition to all tips, she is going to be helping take care of her grandmother, Virginia Brinsfield. And so the court is asking, because of concerns with the kid's maternal grandfather, that he be ordered not to be in the home with Miss Brinsfield, and that Miss Mason not allow him into that home.
Okay. I was having some background noise coming from Mr. Benson's device, and so if you'll go through all of that last part for me again, Ms. Panger, I'm sorry, because I'm afraid I may have missed some detail in there.
No problem at all, Judge. I'll start back that the kids will be placed with the mother.
Right.
And that we're asking for a court order that Mr. Adcock not be in the home, and an order that Miss Mason not allow him in the home or allow him to have any access to the children that is outside of the times authorized by the court or by the department. That one of the new, a new job that Miss Mason has taken on is helping take care of her grandmother, the kid's great-grandmother, Virginia Brinsfield. Mm-hmm. And there were some concerns, have been recently, with the kid's grandfather being in the home there with Miss Brinsfield. And so we're asking that the court order that the maternal grandfather not be in that home at any point, particularly when the kids are there, and that Miss Mason not allow him in the home there while the kids are there.
Okay, so let me clarify. Is she living in that in Ms. Mason's home now?
No, ma'am. I believe she's in a separate home, but Miss Mason has taken on a new job of going to Miss Brinsfield's home to take care of her. And when she does that, we want to ensure that the maternal grandfather, who is Miss Brinsfield's son, is not in that home because of concerns about drug use. And so that he would be ordered not to be in the home, and that Miss Mason's ordered not to allow him in the home and access to the children.
Okay, so and I want to make sure I'm understanding, but so Ms. Mason goes over to the great-grandmother's home, mm-hmm, and is providing care for the great-grandmother.
That's correct. And that's
that's her grandmother.
That's her grandmother, the kid's great-grandmother.
Right. Okay. Okay.
Yes. And the kids. Oh, I'm sorry, Judge.
But also living in grandmother's home or great-grandmother's home is this other person?
No, ma'am. I don't think he lives there. He was in and out of that home some during the investigation, and maybe even while this hearing's been going on. He is not living there anymore. And I have asked the investigator, and we are in agreement with that he doesn't live there. There was a point that he was staying there, but he's not anymore.
Okay. And so here's my problem, Ms. Panger. I have no jurisdiction or authority to order what goes on in someone else's home. I could say Ms. Mason cannot allow the children. I mean, if he shows up, You know, if the kids are there, she just needs to take the kids and leave. But
that's what we'd ask for.
Yeah, I don't think I have any authority to order that he can't be in the grandmother's or the great grandmother's home or anything to do with him.
Okay, and Judge, what we would ask is really the order that Miss Mason not allow him around the children, that she be ordered not to do that, and that if he is there when she goes over and has the kids with her, that she leave and not allow him around the children.
Okay,
correct.
What is his name?
Miss Mason, what is his name?
My father's name?
Yes.
Wes Mason. And behalf of that, my dad no longer lives here in Matador. He lives with his cousin.
Okay. So children aren't to be around him, Mr. Mason, Wes Mason, and if he shows up, then you understand, Ms. Mason, you have to take the kids and get gone.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Yes, Your Honor.
And then, Judge, she also continues to have her job at Allsup's. And so there was the concern about who would be taking care of the kiddos when she is working at Allsup's. And she's provided the name of her stepsister, I believe, Cheyenne Mount, who we have spoken to some during the investigation and the early parts of this case. And so long as she is agreeable to continue with being that babysitter, because I think that was an issue, whether she was willing to do it, then, and the department approves that, then she is okay to be the babysitter while mom is working at Allsup's.
Cheyenne Mount?
Cheyenne Mount.
So do we know if the department's going to approve her or?
So it wasn't fully completed during the investigation because she didn't indicate her willingness to. I think they were talking about potential placement of the kids with her. What I've gotten is the impression that we think we should be able to approve her, but we've got to verify that she's willing to be this babysitter, and this would be contingent on that, making sure that there's someone that can watch the kids while she's working, and this is the only name we have.
Okay. All right.
And Honor, she has watched all four of my kids at my granny's house while they were in with Childcare with my dad and my granny, because she helped to watch them while my dad worked.
Okay. Well, it's a question, I guess, of following up on that, see if she's willing, and then see if she's approved.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Anything else, Ms. Panger?
Well, and then as far as visitation, I know that was something that Ms. Kincaid brought up, is making sure that visitation for Mr. Benson, and I think will begin virtually just because of distance. That's what was brought up, but making sure that that's set up, which absolutely will be done. We'll get on that immediately.
And where does Mr. Benson live?
Burke Burnett, Your Honor.
I'm sorry?
Burke Burnett.
Near Wichita Falls.
Yes,
okay.
And I think she said that's about 3 hours away. So there's some distance there.
Okay. All right. No child support, or what are we going to do about that? Children are in the home with mother.
Right. And so I think not for mother at this point. And then I'm going to ask right now to defer on that.
Mr. Benson, do you pay child support already?
No, ma'am, I haven't paid child support at all.
Do you financially assist with your children?
I haven't got to see my children in 2 years. I have no contact with the mother, and she won't contact with me or nothing like that. And at first I was not financially stable, but I am now. but I also do have two other kids.
Well, my concern is that mom's going to be taking
I
care of all
understand.
four.
I will start paying child support now.
All right, I'll tell you, I don't know anything about your income or anything. I'm going to set your child support based on minimum wage. Do you have any other children, Mr. Benson?
I have two other children that I got these children after the fact child support was set date.
Okay, I'm having a real hard time hearing you, sir.
I had two other kids after the child support was set in stone.
Do you pay child support on those children?
No, ma'am. They're in the home with me now.
Okay. They live with you?
Yes, ma'am.
What are their ages?
2 years old and 9 months.
Okay. So Ms. Panger, we'll base it on minimum wage. I mean, at this point, until we can have some verification of your income, I don't know what else to do.
Sure. I agree, Judge.
So, and you are going to be having to do some things for the department. So I don't want to pop you too hard on this deal, but I think a mom needs some assistance. So
absolutely.
So minimum wage for two children, considering that he's got two others in the home.
Yes, ma'am.
It's not going to be that much, Mr. Benson. I'll tell you that. It won't be all that much.
How do I go about paying child support? I've tried and I couldn't figure it out.
Well, you're going to have to give your attorney some information about who you work for and all that. Yes. So they'll pull it out of your paycheck.
Okay.
All right. So now Mr. Adcock's going to be out of the home.
Yeah.
And if the children are in the home, I feel like Mr. Adcock should be paying some support.
Yeah.
So, Mr. Adcock, do you have any other children?
No, ma'am.
Okay. And are you working?
Yes, ma'am. Little side job right now.
I would ask that it be set at minimum wage, Your Honor. I think that's what his income would show.
So same deal. We're going to set them both, but Mr. Adcock's will be set based on two children and no other children.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Let me catch up here real quick.
And Judge, can I ask with child support, do we want medical support also at a very minimum? We'd ask that also at maybe $25 a month per child.
Yeah, that's fine. That's really below the guideline, but that's fine.
Yes,
I mean, we've got some leeway in these cases because parents are going to have to be working services and getting transportation and back and forth to things, and so
yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So, Judge, that order is going to state that the child support goes to the mother, not the state, correct?
Correct.
Thank you.
Kids are in the home. Okay. All right, Ms. Panger, anything else?
Judge, I would just ask that Ms. Mason be admonished about the importance of making sure that Mr. Adcock is not in the home, that she's not allowing him there, and that he's not around the kids at any point that he is not authorized to, because it will likely result in the kids being removed from her care again and placed back into foster care.
Yeah, Ms. Mason, it's not likely to result in that. It will happen.
Yes, sir.
When I agree to leave children in the home and we set those parameters and those rules, I will just tell you, I mean it. And it's just the strangest thing. People think, oh, I live in this small town and these people aren't around and they're not going to see us if we meet over at Sonic and, have an ice cream cone or this or that. And, it's just the strangest thing how many times people do see you.
Yes, I understand.
And,
Life.
so it's, you just, Mr. Adcock, you don't ask her to break those rules.
Yes, ma'am.
That's not fair to her, and it's darn sure not fair to the children.
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Mason, you don't bend the rules either, because it's the same deal. I mean, who will pay the ultimate price?
The kids.
The kids.
will.
Yep. And then I'm essentially punishing the children for your all's, misbehavior. And I hate doing that. I really do. But if you're not going to be protective of them and you aren't going to follow the rules, then I don't have a choice. I have to protect the kids. So right. I hope we all are very clear about what we have to do or not do. Okay.
Yes.
All right, then. Let me just ask, Ms. Sapien, is that you and your client's agreement?
It is, Your Honor, and I would just ask that you verify with Ms. Mason.
Yes.
Okay. That's your agreement, Ms. Mason?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. All right, Mr. Barfield, you and Mr. Adcock?
Mr. Adcock and I agree, and I have a feeling Mr. Adcock's going to comply with everything the court asked him to do.
Okay. And Ms. Kincaid?
That's our agreement, Your Honor.
All right. Mr. Benson, you got any other questions? Is that your agreement, sir?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. All right. Ms. Grant, are you good with all this?
Yes, Judge, I'm in agreement, and it's in the best interest of the children if all the parents can comply with this.
All right. Let me make sure I've got everything and okay. Then I will approve the agreement as announced and discussed. Parties agree, and I find the evidence is sufficient to name the Department of Family and Protective Services as the temporary managing conservator of the children. Find that there would be a continuing danger to place the children with Mr. Adcock or with Mr. Benson at this point in time, although we need to work on that relationship with Mr. Benson. And the children find that the children can be safely placed with the mother, but that services will be appropriate in the case. So Mr. Adcock will not be allowed in the home. Mother will not allow him in.
Quick question, Judge. Will I still be able to, in this little time frame, will I still be able to go and get some of the rest of my stuff out of the house and, or will I get her in trouble like today or?
Let me get with, after the judge announces the ruling, Mr. Adcock, I'm going to ask that maybe you and me and Miss Mason and her attorney go into a breakout room and we can discuss making those arrangements. Obviously, if the department attorney needs to be in there and ad litem as well, we can just have a meeting after the judge announces the ruling.
Yeah,
if that's okay with the court.
I can tell you, Mr. Adcock, it would be better to have somebody else go pick those things up for you. I'll let you all discuss that. All right. So, his visitation we're talking about Mr. Adcock, his visitations will be supervised and there will be no other contact other than those supervised visitations between him and the children. The children are not to be around Mr. Wes Mason. And if Mr. Mason shows up unexpectedly when mother is at one of her jobs, then she will, if the children are present, she will remove the children immediately. Childcare can be provided for Cheyenne Mount if she is approved and is willing to do that. Mr. Benson will begin his virtual visits with the children, and his child support will be set at minimum wage considering he has 2 other children in his home. Medical support at $25 per child. Mr. Adcock will pay child support based on minimum wage for 2 children and medical support at $25 per child. Okay. I appreciate y'all working everything out. Our status hearing will begin immediately because of the resets. So, since we're just going to continue on in, so we're going to move into this phase of our status hearing. Everybody is still present, and we are still on Zoom and live streaming, and is why it's still making this record for our status hearing. Okay. This is unusual because of the time frames. So service plans, Ms. Panger, I know we had some discussion with Ms. Ferguson. Those have been developed, correct?
Yes, ma'am. It's my understanding that those service plans have been developed. Yes.
All right. And Ms. Mason, have you been over a service plan?
I have not, but I have visited with the caseworker today. So.
Okay. All right. Mr. Benson, have you been over a service plan?
No. Say
Okay.
I'm not talked to the caseworker.
Okay, you're
That's
breaking
been
up, sir.
set on yet.
Say that again. I couldn't hear you.
I have not.
Okay. Mr. Adcock, how about you? Have you been over a service plan? Okay, he's muted, but he said no. Okay, so I understand it's unusual because of the timing of these things, but what I will say to each of you parents is that I'm going to make those services an order of the court today, and I will expect you to work those things. Because this is kind of unusual, I will give you and your attorneys an opportunity to talk about those service plans. And if there is something in those that comes up that we have a problem with, I will certainly allow the attorneys to raise that at a later date. We can always address it. If we need to set a special hearing, we certainly can do that to talk about that. But as it stands right now, I will order the services as those have been prepared, and just admonish everybody that failure to work those services can result in the kids not staying at home or being returned to any of you. Failure to work the services can result in termination of parental rights. So, nobody wants to go down that road. We just all need to do what we need to do. And, we'll work for reunification with everybody. And I will see you all back on November 13th of 2024. That will be on a 1:00 docket. And that'll be our initial permanency hearing. And I'm very hopeful that we will be well down the road to getting everything completed at that point in time. Okay, then. Thank you all very much. And I'll see you back in November. That sounds like a long, long way away, but I guess it'll be here before we know it.
Your Honor, can I say
Judge.
something real quick? I'm Cristobal Salinas, caseworker.
Yes, sir.
Can I get Mr. Adcock's address? I show the same address as Ms. Mason's, and I need a corrected address, if I can get one from him.
Okay, let me do this real quick, Mr. Salinas. If that's all he needs, and does anybody have anything else they need on the record?
No, ma'am.
No.
Okay. All right, I'm going to let Ms. Wyatt go. I'm going to stop the YouTube feed before we start giving out people's addresses, and then you all can speak freely. And then if you all need to go in a breakout room, I'll put those of you in there that need to be.
As long as we're not on YouTube, Judge.